Hey, Shalom, Makim, Shalom. First and foremost, as always, I would like to give all praise, all honor, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachakodash. I would like to give double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth, and that's so teaching this truth, and much peace, love, and salutations to the elect, beginning with the 144,000, all the way down to the large multitude that believes and who the Lord will deliver in these last days. To you all I say Shalom. I'm the brother Tazaryach from the Great Millstone Dallas camp, coming back today with another lesson, and I pray this lesson will be edifying to the elect. And I wanted to do a quick video going in on the the comment that so-called Captain Tazaryach made in regarding to us here at Great Millstone, beginning with our apostles on down, on how we pretty much, for lack of better words, not to put words in his mouth, but you want to hear what he said out of his own mouth. But the whole concept and idea that we're just infatuated just with underage girls, which ultimately when these guys, when they make points about, when the whole thing about the law when Grape came out, a lot of these different Israelite camps, a mass majority of them, got offended at the law. They got offended at the counsel of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. And the scripture says, blessed is he who was not offended in me. So they started making all these false accusations against us, saying that we like to, we grape little girls and we grape babies and things of that nature. They started making all these lies up about us. When realistically they're just ashamed in the law, they're ashamed in the counsel of the Lord, because once again, we like we always say, you can't read the scriptures with the westernized mindset. That's why the scripture says, as a matter of fact, what's that in I think it's in Jeremiah 5. It says I'll get me unto the great men. And I'll get another precept as well too, because it talks about the old paths. Let's see. Yep, this is Jeremiah 5:4. It says, I will get me unto the great men, all right, and will speak unto them. And who are the great men? All right, the great men are the ancient men of old coming back. Okay, it says, for they have known the way of Yahweh and the judgment of their power. But these have altogether broken the yoke and burst the bonds. You see, because guys like Captain Tazaryach, General Yohana, Bishop Nathaniel, the artist formerly known as Alazar, that guy, who was the former head of Sakari, Deacon Akai, all these other individuals, Bubble Eyes from GOCC, the artist formerly known as Tazaryach. All these individuals are really just called to they were and are called to personality. That's why they got to have the whole podcast set up, and and they have even a podcast and things of that nature that they talk about. It's not even pertaining to the truth. You got all these events, like Elder Apostle Gabar mentioned. You got all these events going on in the world, but you still got these niggas still slandering and talking shit. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. Yahweh Shai himself said, blessed are ye when men shall revile you and speak all manner of evil against you falsely for my name's sake. So we come in the stead of the prophets, and we come in the stead of being of Yahweh Shai's little ones. We already know what the scripture says. As a matter of fact, for those that may not know, let's get it. My little ones, was that Matthew? Let's see. Let me get it. Yep, Matthew 18:6. All right, it says, but whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depths of the sea. You see? So they don't even understand and know, that they're offending Yahweh Shah's little ones by making false accusations like this. And the scripture says that every idle word that a man shall speak, he should give account thereof in the day of judgment. You see? But ultimately, they're just offended at the old ways. All right, let's get that. The old paths. All right, this is Jeremiah 6:16. It says, thus saith Yahweh, stand ye in the ways and see and ask for the old paths, where is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. You see that? So, you have to look for the old paths. Now, does that mean that we see, a woman, because, back in the ancient world, men would marry and get with women, and we've gone through this plenty of times, man. But once again, this is more so, for newer listeners. But, men in the ancient world would actually, get women whenever they were younger. They could be far younger than the man. The man could be in his 40s, maybe his 30s, 40s, and they could have a woman that could be, 12, 13, 14 years old. That was an ancient custom. You see? But these guys, they have a westernized mindset, and a very depraved mindset at that, to say the shit that they say. That we grape babies and little girls, and they even mention little boys, pretty much formulating us that we some moles or something, man. Pretty much like we just some PDF files or something. But it's all good. It's all good, because they're going to have to give an account to everything that they say, and they're going to have to prove that the things that the shit that they said about us is true. That's the thing. They're going to have to prove it, which they're not going to be able to prove it. So once again, I'll read this again. Thus saith Yahweh, stand ye in the ways and see and ask for the old paths, where is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk therein. You see, they don't want to walk in the old ways. They don't want to pretty much stand stiffly and firmly for the truth. Because you bring out an ancient law and an ancient custom like that, it does make you look. It can give you a bad light, or I'd rather say it could give you a bad light in today's time, because we live in a pacified, westernized world where everything is backwards. But yes, in the kingdom of heaven, you best believe whenever the kingdom is established on the planet Earth, yeah, we're going to have women that's going to be young. I mean, who in their right mind wants a woman who's all old and decrepit and busted down and ugh? Who wants that? That's why you may see older men with younger women. You see, but we live in a society where if the tables was turned, we live in a society where, when a woman could be older, but she could be like a so-called cougar and she want a younger man. Nobody says anything about that though. But when a man does it with a woman, it's completely, when a man does it, it's completely, it's the most heinous crime. But once again, we're not advocating in this society for a man to go get a 12-year-old girl. That's not what we're doing. All we did was just bring out a law that's in Deuteronomy 22. All right, and it tells you, about the law on grape. But once again, they got offended. But anyways, let's listen to this. Let's listen to this, and I'm gonna bring out 2 examples, and I'm gonna end the video. This ain't gonna be too long. 1 second. There we go.
So I gotta see this part. Garfield in the chat. Garfield's in the chat said, what was that post about GMS? Y'all want to know something heavy? Gorilla Hebrew comes out of GMS.
So did you. You came out of GMS too, Captain Tazaryach.
Yep, he did come out of GMS. Because he was listening. He was listening to, the former elder of Mississippi Award. And he was listening, having councils. Elder Yashawamba, Elder Ariala down here in Dallas. They know. I mean, I wasn't around, but I know the stories, and I believe their report. He came. It was around like 2012 or something like that. Because through the spirit of Yahweh B'Shem Shah, the Lord brought me in around 2014. The summer of 2014. But I remember the stories. Him, Alazar, Deacon Akai. Yeah, they all are disciples of Great Millstone.
Secret disciple of GMS. I believe you were learning under them brothers. I'm
gonna fast forward a little bit just to get to the point that he says, so I can bring on my examples.
Now the brothers that was a secret disciple history that I was in, I believe he was, and always had some business. Mostly, it wasn't until I joined Hana, and I can honestly say that Tazaryach is playing like he was never part of GMS. Where you got that term flip camp? We're the most, I think, bubble-eyed blackfish, by the way, of the IUIC, right? There was both on YouTube, and YouTube wasn't going nowhere with the Hebrews like that. It wasn't until beginning with Elder Pastor on down. These are facts. In the sum of two thing of slanderous. This guy,
bear with me.
personality. Show me one scripture where produce personality. Now, first there was this
So back in
Okay, here we go.
scripture where
I want to get to the point to where he made the statement. You know, I watched the video earlier, but I just wanted to get to that point when he made the statement.
either a captain or a general in the ministry. Yeah.
Or I'm gonna say has or had, because I don't know if he's still in the school. So back in about 2012, there's a video where you see Captain Taiwo, myself, Tazaryach. We have the confrontation with GMS.
Oh, that was in 2012. You know, it might have been a few years earlier, maybe like 2010 or something like that. Whenever he was listening around with the elders, the first, the original class, I rather say that from the Great Awakening in 2007. But I wasn't there, so I'm not gonna really speak too much on it. But I remember the story. I remember the stories though.
Right? Commander General Hunter was gonna give it a pass. People don't know this. Commander General Hunter was gonna give that a pass. He wasn't gonna say nothing. And then GMS puts the video out. So now it's head on. ISBK, GMS, we going back and forth. We going back and forth. Listen, Deacon in the chat brought it up. As we going back and forth, Commanding General.
And hold up, wasn't him and Deacon Hakal beefing or whatever? Like, anyways.
You got Deacon Akar in there. This is the comment that he put. Johanna Bar pink panty scandal. Shaking my head. See these guys? These guys, and by the way, with mess, you got that coming.
Fast forward just to get to the point where he said
he was part of Sweating Men of GMS back in the day.
In GMS, used to wear his.
A lot of guys like this, and then the soft life. That's the guys that we are writing this thing of ours.
And high heel shoes.
And the women in police, you'll be wrapped around. Okay.
GMS. Do you think the nigga stopped?
The record is Captain.
You started talking about Johanna Bar, but I wasn't there.
No.
That's who you going to camp with.
Say, huh?
The Hebrew comes from GMS.
Say Christ. The next day they'll say Yahweh Shai. Let's go.
Because Guerrilla Hebrew comes from GMS.
And what Alazar did, okay, doesn't not amount to him and the whole pagan thing. That's some other shit. You see? But he's pretty much tying what Alazar did, all right, to Great Millstone, as if, well, he's an offshoot of Great Millstone. He learned from them, and see, they're sexual deviants anyway. They're like underage girls. Well, let's go ahead and, for the sake of time, let's go ahead and grab this real quick. This is Numbers 31. All right, this is in the history. Numbers 31 and 15, because these guys like to be, I'm no, ISUPK, no cowards. No cowards this, but what about this law? So I guess Moses and King David and all them, I guess they were sexual deviants too, I guess, right? Numbers 31 and 15, it says, and Moses said unto them, have ye saved all the women alive? And this is the slaughter of Midian. Behold, these caused the children of Israel through the counsel of Balaam to commit trespass against Yahweh in the matter of Peor, going into the time of Baal Peor, excuse me. And there was a plague among the congregation of the Lord, going into whenever Balak hired Balaam to put an enchantment on us, right? Now therefore, here's the points here. Now therefore, kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman that hath known man by lying with him. So pretty much kill all the males. Why kill all the males? So that they can't reproduce. And then kill all the women that have known man by lying with him. Pretty much a woman that has already been married and had intercourse with a man, kill them off too. Because why? We would like our women pure, virgins. Okay. It says, but all the women children. Let's read this let's read verse 18 in the NLT. Only the young girls who are virgins may live. So why would they keep the young girls? So I guess our forefathers and the men of war were just sexual deviants, right? Only the young girls who are virgins may live. You may keep them for yourselves. This is in the law. You may keep them for yourselves. Right now, let's get the. Now, hold up. For all you guys that boast in the law, you guys are warriors for the law. The law, this, the law, that. Keep the commandments, keep the commandments, and y'all talking shit about us. Well, what about this? I guess our forefathers were sexual deviants in you guys' eyes, right? They like underage girls. So I guess Moses like, I guess if Moses was on the scene doing this, y'all would be cursing him out. Y'all be saying all the shit about him too in the leadership. I guess y'all would say the same thing about King David. I guess y'all would say the same thing about King David, right? This is 1 Kings 1:1. It says, now David was now very old in the NLT, and no matter how many blankets covered him, he could not keep warm. So his advisor told him, let us find a young virgin to wait on you and look after you, my lord. She will lie in your arms and keep you warm. A young virgin. King David was old, man. He was old and very, very up in age. You think he wanted somebody his age to lay it down with him? No, he wanted a young tenderoni. That's what he wanted. And that was completely normal in the ancient world. That was 100% normal. What about Isaac? You know, he whenever he met Rebecca was a damsel. Joseph and Mary. Mary was a young woman of marriageable age. Joseph could have been maybe in his mid-30s, early 40s, maybe possibly even mid-40s, man. When he laid down with Mary. That was completely normal. But I guess our forefathers, Joseph, I guess he was a sexual deviant too. I guess they were sexual deviants as well too. Jumping down to verse 4, it says, the girl was very beautiful. Mind you, she was a young virgin. The girl was very beautiful, and she looked after the king and took care of him. But the king had no sexual relations with her. You see, he didn't know her, he didn't have sex with her. But why do you think out of all women they got him a young virgin, a young fine virgin, to lay down with him, and so that he can get heat? And that's really actually an ancient form of therapy too, by the way. But what I typed in ChatGPT, I said in Numbers 31, during the slaughter of Midian, where Moses told the Israelites to conquer and take the women that have not known men and the children, as well as the account when King David could not get heat, so they brought unto him a damsel. Technically, could that be considered an underage woman, right? It says yes. In the biblical context, both of these examples lightly refer to young, unmarried girls who today would be considered underage by modern standards, though the ancient cultural and legal framework was very different. The ancient cultural and legal framework was very different in the ancient world. It ain't this fucked up ass bullshit that we see here in Babylon today, man. Okay? It ain't this westernized world that we live in right now is completely different compared to the ancient world, man. The ancient world was way more manly. It was way more rough. Women were actually women. It wasn't this whole situation where you got a man who meets a woman and he's in his 30s or whatever, and she's in her mid 30s too, and she done laid down with every Tom, Dick, and Harry, man. And her body count is more than her body bag count. Her body count is more than a death toll in Iraq. Okay, no, that's not the world that we came from, man. Numbers 31. Here's the breakdown. The Midianite word says, which we already read, right? Meaning, it says the term maidens here in Hebrew. You got tapach. All right. It says in other contexts, referring to unmarried girls, likely adolescents or younger. 12, 13, 14, 13, 12, maybe 11. You see, but Jake will hear that. Jake will hear it and see these guys are PDF files. Ew, these guys are PDF, man. Grow the fuck up, man. You know, you guys are just you're offended at the ancient customs, man. Cultural note. It says in that time, a girl was often considered eligible for betrothal after puberty, which is around what. And the thing is about it is that you have women who hit their puberty around 12. They may have their first period around 12. Sometimes it could be 11, 12, 13, 14. You know, sometimes you have women that hit their puberty a little earlier in today's time due to all the madness that's in the food, all the pollution in the air, all the chemicals and things of that nature. A girl may hit her period a little earlier. But just because a woman had her period at maybe, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 12, 13, around that age, doesn't necessarily mean that every single time a man was just over here trying to just smash at everything. No, man. Sometimes a man will let the woman develop more to his liking. But he would still betroth her at that age. So that whenever she was betrothed, that means that she was promised to him and she couldn't be with nobody else. Okay? So as soon as she, like I said, as soon as she had her cycle, she started developing, her chest, her breasts start developing. She started getting a little bit of hips on her. Her booty start poking out a little bit. Yeah. And ultimately, a woman's body develops that way because her body is prepared now to what? Bear children. Let's all be men. The scripture says, show yourselves men. The scripture says in malice be ye children, but in understanding be ye men. You gotta at the end of the day, man, you just gotta just be a man in understanding. A woman's body, a woman, I'm just say it bluntly, man. When a woman's titties get bigger, her hips get wider, her booties stick out a little bit more. When that happens, when a young girl starts developing breast, her hips get a little bit wider, her booty starts poking out a little bit more. What is that? What her body's naturally changing so that her body can bear children. And when she has her period, that lets you know that, hey, she's ready. It's that simple. It's that simple. So once again, it says, in that time, a girl was often considered eligible for betrothal after puberty, not after reaching a fixed age. It says, so a maiden could range from preteen to late teens. A preteen. Matter of fact, let's do this. What is the age of a preteen? A preteen is considered to be between the ages of 10 and 12. This age range is also sometimes referred to as the tween years. But specifically, it says between the ages of 10 and 12. You just gotta grow up. Okay, you just gotta grow up and understand what the scriptures are saying. Grow the fuck up. But you guys are gonna just keep talking shit. You're gonna keep talking shit until the Lord put you 6 feet under, man. Because once again, all the stuff that they saying about us, saying that we great babies and little babies and all that other kind of stuff, these guys said that about us. They're gonna have to prove it. They're gonna have to prove that. Okay, so once again, it says, so a maiden, right, could range from preteen, 10 to 12, to late teens, right, 17, 16, 17, 18. But the key marker was virginity, not age. But the thing is, that's why when you read the Hebrew word for virgin, there's two different words. You may see the word virgin, and the Hebrew word may be bathwalah, which is a woman that's never been touched. And then you may have the word ilama, all right, which ilama is the word virgin in Mary's sense, which is a young woman of marriageable age, because she had sex with Joseph. She was still a young woman. You could have a woman that could have had a baby at 12. She still was a virgin. in an Ilama sense, but you could have a young woman who would never had sex, that was 12, 10, 12, 10, 11, 12, 13, which was a virgin in a Bathwallah sense. The damsel for King David, text. We already read the text, a fair damsel, meaning the word na'ara literally means young girl or maiden, typically unmarried and in her youth. Age range, this could refer to a girl in her mid to late teens, but she's still a teenager, because what would be considered underage today? Like an elder apostle Tahar said, what would be considered underage today would be somebody that's under the age of 18 in particular states. Under somebody under the age of 18. You see, but if you look at a woman who's 18 today, right? If you look at a woman who's 18 today, her body count could be her body count in today's time, a girl that's 18, you would be surprised. A mass majority of these women, that are 18 in today's time, body count is skyrocketing. And it's even worse today. Am I saying every woman that's 18? No, but I will say it's over 90% of them. I will say that. Age range. This could refer to a girl in her mid to late teens, but again, in the ancient Near Eastern sense, I will go, I will get me into the great men. I will follow after the old paths, right? In the ancient Near Eastern sense, that's considered fully marriageable age. Not sexual, because once again, King David did not have sex with her, right? That passage explicitly says David knew her not, meaning no sexual relations took place. What could be considered underage? Modern perspective, yes. By today's legal standards in most countries, both the spared Midianite maidens and Abishag could have been under 18, so they would be underage in our terms. In today's terms, in the westernized terms, yes. Ancient perspective, no. And do we not follow after the customs of what the scriptures say? Yes, we do. No, the age of consent as we know it did not exist. All you just get out your goddamn emotions, man. Get out your emotions. Remember yourselves and show yourselves men. Societal norms tied adulthood to puberty and marriageable eligibility. Let's read that again. Social norms tied adulthood to puberty and marital eligibility. What made you eligible for marriage as a woman was whenever you passed the flower of your age, whenever you had your cycle, whenever you had your menstrual cycle came in. You would even have men, you know what I'm saying? Not every man was in his 40s or things like that. No. Because a man becomes a man by the age of 12. That's when a man becomes a man. Technically, whenever you're under the covenant. So anyways, man, I just wanted to read that. I pray this lesson was edifying to the elect. Once again, I'm going to give all praise, all honor, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Chakodash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders, the great millstone, that taught us his truth, and that's what teaching is truth, and much peace, love, and salutation to the elect. Until next time, I say shalom.